Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for sticking around. We're going to maybe button up the Ukraine update. I mean, what is so great about doing this show with Doc, everybody, is like that you get some firsthand perspective on parts of the world that are in the news, but are not being, I don't want to say not being reported inaccurately, but certainly not being reported in a kind of firsthand, on the ground sort of way, especially talking to regular folks. I mean, when the major news networks are reporting Ukraine, they were talking about Crimea, or talking about East Ukraine, or talking about the incursions from that part of from Russia, the tanks they found, or the soldiers that are like doing raids across the border and coming back, that sort of thing. But no one really talks about the man on the street, the day-to-day life in Kiev and Odessa. So I think that we got a pretty cool opportunity, and I'm going to let you keep giving that update.
Yeah. So there's a lot of American families in Kiev. They're very excited. They're doing a lot of tourism. People I talked to in Kiev were, of course, more political, because it's like being in Washington, D.C., and they were like, we can't believe they took that they took the Donbass. But the truth of the matter is, taking Crimea saved the Ukrainians about, I think it was $500 million a year. Because it was so poor and didn't produce anything. And the other thing is, they have to make these political statements. In Donbass, they're like, well, listen, we're tired of paying pensions to people in Donbass, so we should just let them go. And I thought that was interesting, because people in Donbass are Ukrainians and they're getting a pension. And one of the things I didn't understand is the Russians are giving them a pension and the Ukrainians are giving them a pension. And they're like, geez, we can double dip. So outside of the occasional shelling and civilians getting killed with shells,
no big deal.
Yeah. I mean, they're like, well, hey, at least we're getting 2 paychecks. And that's one of the things when you stop, the politics of the Olympics with the doping scandal and all that, people are wondering why the Russians aren't up in arms. They count on stuff like this happening to them. The Ukrainian gymnastics team, the men, the guy had a chance to go in and get a spot to compete for a medal, and he just apparently didn't show up for one of the events and lost it. And that's typical of that attitude. And one of the things I found that was interesting, because NATO was having joint exercises, and I was talking to one of the commanders over there from NATO, and he was very diplomatic. But the short version, and this is my version, what he told me is, the only problem with Ukraine are the Ukrainians. And the problem really is their attitude of defeatism. They have been so downtrodden for years and years and years. It's difficult for them to start seeing any kind of light. And the thing is their economy is really starting to turn around. It's really starting to do well. And there was there's a Lush store. And you know what Lush is?
No.
You never heard of that? Maddie, you know what Lush is, right? Really? Holy cow, I must have gone metrosexual and not known it. It is, excuse me, it's a really great store. You can go get it's like a really upgraded Bath and Body Works. And you can get lotions, and I love using their hair products. They have a beard oil and argan oil. I mean, it's just awesome. All of it's awesome. They have a Lush store down there. It is strictly a luxury item thing. Globus also has gotten rid of several of the Russian brands, and they have it's not a Neiman Marcus. It is the Victoria's Secret, an actual honest to goodness Victoria's Secret, right? Completely upscale kind of things, and people are very hopeful. Last year, I heard a lot, Ukraine can change, but it's not going to happen because I'm not going to be here. It's going to have to happen with us all leaving and doing it from the outside in. And I didn't hear that this time. I heard we're starting to really make it. Our economy is really starting to turn around. They're instituting these non-corruption laws, and it's really been helpful. And so you can see the free market really starting to take off over there. And which is, really, really pretty amazing. Now, I'm going to segue that into the Russian doping scandal.
Sure.
Right? Everybody should have been suspicious. Hey, way back 4 years ago, how did you get like 4 times the medals you guys ever get? And, how'd you guys do that? Well, obviously they doped. And so they got caught, and it's an institutional thing. And here are the Paralympians going, all right, we're just not going to put up with it, banning the whole group. And there is the IOC, who basically picks these places based upon the number of bribes they can get, letting the Russians in, who are obviously doping and not competing fairly. Don't get me wrong, America has, we have problems. The difference is we don't actively encourage doping. And if we get caught doping, we go, yeah, you don't deserve your gold medal, and take it away.
Well,
the Russians go, hey, listen, we like that.
Well, and the reports of that is that they still have a lot of institutional holdover, especially in the government from the old Soviet days, where Olympic performance was tied to national identity, tied to national pride, where it was definitely a part of the way that the government was running things, the way the party was running things. They were employees of the state, basically, in a lot of these totalitarian communist regimes, the way that China still kind of is. Not as bad as they used to be, but still in a similar fashion. And there's a lot of holdover in the training and the people that are running that stuff in Russia today. And what the IOC kind of uncovered, and some of these independent examiners uncovered, was institutional, not just individual athletes. In the States, at least, typically it's these individual teams or these individual athletes with a doctor someplace, or with like a staff around them. The Lance Armstrong thing, he had a network, but it was a small network and no one else kind of knew about it. And they uncovered evidence of institutional doping in Russia, where it was like sort of expected.
Oh yeah.
Not from everybody. That's why members of the team, like, they didn't ban the entire country, but enough. Especially, I think the entire track and field team is banned. I don't think anybody on the Russian team gets to compete in any of those track and field activities.
No, they don't. But they have a swimmer that they banned her and then let her back in,
who lost last night, actually.
Yeah, well, she still got silver, which denies other countries who didn't cheat. So it's one of those things where, I think we need a different way of picking the the Olympic venues, because wherever the Olympics are held, it's never good for whatever third world backwater they pick. It's never good for them. Look at Rio. Look at all the problems. I mean, for crying out loud, they had a kayaker tip over from a sofa that was in the course. Honest to God, how do you let a sofa float down the river of the kayak?
Well, that's been the whole.
That's like living over in Davenport. Man, oh man.
As a no great fan of the Quad Cities, I'll chuckle at that. But I'm just kidding. Davenport,
we love you, man. We understand your pain.
Rock Island, love you guys. Don't worry.
We've left our own.
Just kidding.
Des Moines has left our own sofas in the water. So,
yes, they have.
Absolutely. Well, we're up on a break. We're going to come back. We're going to continue to talk about the Olympics. My big thing is I want to talk about the sexism that's going on over there.
Okay.
There's a rugby great named Clive Woodward is in all kinds of troubles for commenting on the Great Britain team. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We're going to be back right after this break. Remember, we could not do what we do without you.